thinking about new services, it's about changes to the fleet. It's about better understanding and inclusion of a customer expectation. And it's also about the operation of our highways and the infrastructure required for the future. Today I'm going to talk to you about how mobility as a service combined with behavioural change will be a critical part of engineering outcomes in our sector. New transport services and solutions are required to respond to global trends and achieve policy goals in order to ensure economic growth and prosperity, improve the quality of life, including health and well-being and sustainability, and influence and improve transport user experience. Expanding on these points, congestions in and around our cities and commuter areas is arguably the biggest barrier when it comes to enabling local and regional economic growth and prosperity. The two other main levers to unlock productivity and economic performance, which are skills and housing, are entirely dependent on effective transport networks. The Northern Powerhouse Partnership has identified that if challenger economies, such as the Northern Powerhouse and the West Midlands, are to realise their potential and become engines of growth in their own right, they are dependent on improving mobility. As the Secretary of State acknowledged recently, it's no longer just about transport, it is all about improving the economy. Better transport can equal more prosperity as well as a better quality of life. For instance, rather than building high-density housing in already overpopulated towns and cities, travel axes open up areas for development where people can effectively commute to and from the centre and live in an area without the typical health and social issues associated with high-density living. It's also about increasing the experience of the passenger. Given the challenges we face as a nation when it comes to our infrastructure, there is growing evidence that more and more people are choosing to work from home or remotely, as doing so makes them far more productive and much less stressed. While mobility as a service is often described as being an enabler to the transition away from private car ownership to pay-per-use mobility services, we have seen firsthand through our work in the Netherlands the potential for mobility as a service type solutions to enable behavioural change, ranging from retiming car journeys through to wholesale moves away from car ownership. The first example I'd give you is spitsmijden. Spitsmijden refers to a series of projects designed to reduce congestion by reducing peak period demand on highways by incentivising behavioural change. The approach has been tried in both Sweden and the Netherlands, and the first trial in the Netherlands was implemented in 2008 on the A12 outside The Hague, and there have been 15 subsequent implementations. Spitsmijden uses data to target regular peak hour travellers and then experiments to design the most impactful incentive packages to reward them for making different behavioural choices. This involves identifying the regular peak period highways commuters, contacting them to see if they'd be willing to participate, and then offering incentives if they will modify their behaviour, such as trip retiming, changing their mode of transport, or not travelling at all. Their actual behaviour is tracked, and if it qualifies, it triggers the incentive payment. Looking at the outcomes across 16 implementations extending over 10 years, at least 25% of all those contacted agreed to participate, and on average, participants' peak hour travel reduced by 50%, which is the equivalent to what we typically observe during school holidays. Furthermore, behavioural change effects were seen to continue 3 to 6 months after the trial ended, i.e. after the incentive payments stopped, for at least 50% of the participants. Initial experiments involved trying to identify and promote particular solutions and incentivising people to use them, so such as giving free travel passes. And this didn't actually work that well. The best results have come from leaving the drivers to find the right travel solutions for them. So defining the outcome, incentivising the drivers to achieve that outcome, but not designing the solution. It's quite challenging for engineers sometimes to leave it alone. The second example I'd give you is Hinder. So loosely translated, Hinder means reduce nuisance. And this approach was initially conceived a decade ago in the Netherlands again, and in response to very strong public concerns about the disruption from the upcoming upgrades to the highways networks. The Dutch government made a very bold commitment to deliver these roads investments, whilst also committing to achieving the same levels of customer satisfaction. Initial trials of Hinder were so successful that the approach has been developed and refined ever since. Customers are at the heart of all improvements. Whether the key interventions focus on modular construction to limit disruption or a carefully orchestrated longer-term programme to avoid a hard impact, the key focus remains on communicating effectively with customers to ensure buy-in and support. Hinder is an integrated package of interventions designed to reduce the impact of journey time delays as a result of major highways investments. And in doing so, it eases frustration and it improves the customer experience. The approach incorporates 7 integrated pillars, which encompass smart planning, construction, clear signing, traffic management, excellent customer communications, mobility management, and public-orientated design. And this Hinder package also includes spitsmijden. Hinder is an added cost to construction, so it's been subject to intense scrutiny and research over the last decade to ensure that it really does represent value for money. First, it's worth emphasising that the approach works by placing a more accurate value on the cost of lost customer experience and traffic delay. Part of the problem that we have in the UK with our approach to customer experience is that these costs remain largely hidden in economic appraisals and are manifest largely in terms of frustration, lost time and increased accidents. The fact that Hinder has survived 10 years of scrutiny and political challenges is testament to the value of the approach. Some notable points about the programme: all highways projects in the Netherlands likely to disrupt customer service now have to develop a Hinder approach. Hinder preparation typically starts 2 years before construction for major highway projects. The highways contractors are now obliged to detail their Hinder programme for review by the Highways Authority, along with the costs, which tend to range from 5 to 20% of the total cost of the project. The Hinder approach regularly delivers customer satisfaction scores of around 80%. The approach pays for itself and in many studies has been found to actually add value. Hinder is now so firmly embedded that the Dutch actually manage some of their highways networks where there is congestion but no planned investment, such as areas around Rotterdam. And they see this as a very cost-effective way of extending asset life. The final example I'd give you is mobility as a service in the Amsterdam Business District. So very recently, the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Waterways identified 7 mobility as a service pilots. We've been working in Amsterdam, bringing together a stakeholder ecosystem of both public and private sector organisations around a live issue. We've been co-creating a solution that ensures that businesses could continue to thrive through a prolonged period of major disruption to road and rail in the heart of the Zuidas Amsterdam Business District. A collaborative commitment was achieved to implement mobility as a service so that 5,000 employees of 15 major businesses located in that business district could continue to travel to and from work during this disruption, but without relying on private car use. The initial small-scale proof of concept was delivered late in 2017 and involved participants agreeing to give up their company lease cars. They were provided with €1,000 per month, which was equivalent to the lease cost, the parking charges, and the fuel cost. And they could use that on public transport, bike hire, taxis, car shares, Uber, both for personal and for business use. And any unused monthly credit would remain with the participants but be subject to tax. In parallel, gamification was used and a number of prizes were given for different use and modes of transport. The headline feedback from the participants is positive, with 50% stating they would give up their company car in favour of a scheme like this. And this gives confidence that permanent behavioural change is achievable given the right level of service at the right price. This will scale into a second stage proof of concept due to start next month, with increased number of participants, including those who don't have lease cars. What appeals to me about this Amsterdam Business District example is that it's being designed to ensure that the business district keeps functioning during a period of planned road construction by a group of highly influential and committed stakeholders. that it is a technology-enabled, data-driven behavioural change programme designed to find a solution to a problem with a specific location and timescale. What we've seen in other major infrastructure innovation projects is that Dutch innovation can translate extremely well to the UK. To illustrate this point, the use of the motorway hard shoulder as a running lane to provide additional capacity is now a key feature of the Smart Motorways programme, and this was an innovation first seen in continental Europe, including Holland. Innovation in cycling infrastructure in the UK, introduced by TfL and enabled by DFT, took best practice from Holland and from Copenhagen and road tested it to ensure that it was fit for purpose. Add to this the fact that the participants in the Amsterdam initiative include global multinational organisations who might choose to replicate this model across all their regions as part of their CSR agenda. In summary, digitally enabled bundled transport services based on existing and new and emerging transport technologies, including electric vehicles, connected, autonomous and shared vehicles, delivered together as mobility as a service solutions, offer a great opportunity to generate behavioural change and through this reduce congestion, increase economic prosperity and improve the customer experience.